Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. I have the beautiful DeDee with us. We are going to talk about your money story and how to change it. All seem to want more money, don't we? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for having me. I'm really excited to be here today. And boy, yes, do I like to talk about money?
So, money, it's such a taboo subject. It's like we all want more, and then we feel guilty for wanting more, or ashamed for wanting more, or we feel ashamed because we don't have enough or as much as we think we should have. We really judge ourselves based upon our money story. You help people with that. Let's talk about that. Why don't we start by talking a little bit about your business so that our listeners have a frame of reference for who you are and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. So I just could never imagine in a million years being a certified money coach. The only reason why I embark on that journey is honestly just to heal myself and trying to understand why I do the things I do. I spend the things on the things that I choose to spend on. But ultimately, what was really interesting when I first started my business, I realized that there was always the ups and downs, right? Like the peaks and valleys. And I just couldn't understand why I couldn't create the consistent, revenue or cash flow that I wanted. And before I knew it, I discovered through putting myself through the coaching program was that I have limiting beliefs around money and how it should be created, and also just very, I want to say, ill relationship with money per se. Like I just resisted it, and no wonder why. I had the feast and famine, right? So it has been a really interesting journey. And that's my goal, is to really teach people to understand that first and foremost, to be okay with understanding money touches everything. However, what are the things that we're not overlooking when it comes to money? And why we behave the way we do with money currently, that has everything to do with how we were raised with money.
So, people listening, they probably already have some conscious awareness of wacky stuff from their upbringing around money, the things that they've heard in their household, in society. Could be religious beliefs, it can be, the cultural beliefs, it can be your community, your neighborhood. Are
Mhm.
you in the neighborhood keeping up with the Joneses, where you have more debt than income, and it's all about appearances? Um, did you grow up, you know, on the other side of the tracks where you were looked down on, maybe even bullied or picked on because of your financial situation? How does somebody go about identifying
Mhm.
where they're going all sorts of wrong in their own life because of their money programs?
Yes. And so I love that you questioned so much, because honestly, until I started learning more about money and my relationship with money, I didn't realize that there were also such things they call money archetypes. Just like how we have human personalities, right? Like whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, well, there are personalities when it comes to money as well. And some general ones are, for example, a spender versus a savior versus somebody who's a tyrant versus somebody who's an innocent, etc., and things like that. Those are all money personalities. And we inherited our money personalities, like you mentioned, Alicia, from our upbringing, right? So, for example, mine was so uh, conflicting because my dad raised me to be a spender. My mom loves to save. So, of course, I have the ups and the downs, like in the business, which I didn't understand why initially. I would have a great month, and then I feel like I need to spend all of the money. And then so the next month, I would have the same pattern. And it's because that's how I was raised. And until I really understand that in those situations, for example, when I decided to invest all of my money or spending all of my money, there's a dominant money personality at play. And the ultimate goal is we always want to be money magicians or money warriors. So the characteristics of those are very similar, right? Like very self-explanatory. Magician meaning like you're very good with your money and everything you touch turns to gold, right? Like that's a magician personality. And then the warrior meaning you are understanding that no matter what kind of mistake you make or losses financially, you can always learn from the lesson and become better at making decision in the future when it comes to money. So that's like a characteristic of being a money warrior, right? And it's really understanding which personality is dominantly at play in certain situations by really understanding first and foremost all of the money archetypes and which ones you are. And then from that place, then you can start identifying the limiting beliefs around money based on your personalities. So those are just some steps that we take people through. We call it the core process. And ultimately, towards the end, once you know about all the different 8 money archetypes or personality, you know which ones you are predominantly most of the time, which really help define the behavior, like your behavior when it comes to money. And once you understand that, oh, I'm being an innocent or I'm being a tyrant when it comes to this situation, then you can see, okay, no, how can I be able to retrack so that way I'm always a warrior or I'm a magician? Because ultimately, those ultimate 2 personalities are the healthiest of all, right? Just being able to spend the money when you need to spend the money and also invest wisely, etc., and things like that. And not only that, really take charge of the limiting beliefs that you have are not yours. Oftentimes I learn again from my experience that most of all of anything, 95% up to 99% of my personality and also my limiting beliefs are from my parents of how I was raised. And crazy enough to learn as well that it's also generational, right? If you really think about it, money was taught to be this evil thing even back in the Roman times, right? You know how there were slaves like that. So without going off tangent here, specifically with us and every one of our stories, it could be go as far as back as that. So it's really being able to understand what the money histories are, what our personalities are, why do we operate the way we operate, and how to be conscious of those situations when it comes to making decision about money, which personality is at play.
For someone who's listening who is concerned that they're too far gone, maybe they've tried different things and they've tried saving and investing and they've maybe done even some hypnosis or they've done different programs and just seems like nothing is working. What would you say to someone who feels like they're stuck in their old money patterns?
That's a great question. Hey, I'm a work in progress too, right? Like sometimes I'm literally right now in the middle of making 2 decisions that is related to investing, in the business. And I'm sitting like, well, that program is pretty similar to what I did in the past, but it didn't pan out. So I would just really say, honestly, when you are in doubt, to step away from it. It's oftentimes, and then really being able to come back to it from a more objective place and really seeing where am I making the decision from, right? Remember, we're just talking about your personality. It's like, oh, so I'm going that direction. Oh, because I'm the innocent over here. And then I'm making that decision because, oh, I am now thinking that, I know whatever it takes, and I'm disregarding any of the emotions that's really coming up. What's really crazy is oftentimes we say we don't want to be emotional when it comes to money, but we all make emotional decisions when it comes to money. That's just how we are made and wired because that comes with our survival instincts and certain parts of the brain, and with neurology and things like that. We don't want to go there, but it is really coming down to emotions and really getting to know ourselves, especially if you feel like nothing is really working, because what emotions are you working with? And are we allowing our emotional brain to be working, or is it we're really being more objective when it comes to, making that decision? And but the bottom line is, especially if you're basing your decision on the past, it's oftentimes based on fear. And if it is based on fear, then, we know it's oftentimes irrational, right? Like you can definitely agree with me, like on this front here. And it just being able to just take yourself down off the ledge, giving yourself some space and do whatever you need to. Like for me, I'm so used to making emotional decisions, but now I give myself space. I will analyze it, like the situation, and get all of my answers, my questions answered. If it's not from the particular person, a coach or anyone, then it could be an outside source, of allowing myself to talk things out loud, to verbalize, my decision, and then step away from giving myself space and to finally be at peace, emotionally with my decision. That's what I would recommend to start with.
What is a realistic expectation for someone who is on this, we'll call it a money healing journey, where
Mhm.
they're going deep and they're doing that deeper inner work? What is something that is, because if you're on social media, you're going to see all the hyped up claims, right, in the ads. What is a realistic expectation?
I would say, how we were programmed to feel a certain way about money, that was an overnight. It's 0 to 12. So that's like 12 years, right? At least 12 years. And not to mention that there are other experiences that's related to money from 12 into however old you are. So it just takes that much time to start unraveling and reprogramming some things, right? So it starts small, just like exercise. It's the same thing. So one of your, for example, money personality can be, you're an innocent, so you don't want to have anything to do with your bills, right? Like for me, for the longest time, that's exactly until like somebody is calling and say, "Hey, your bill is overdue." I was not looking at my money because I was avoiding because I'm innocent, right? So it's just really taking baby steps. So it's like, okay, how can I be in charge of my money now? What does that look like? Do I avoid looking at my bills on a monthly basis? Maybe it's the, monthly date with myself to even just look at my bills. Do I know how am I paying my bills, right now? Can I be more organized with uh what is it auto drafting it, every month? So I would say taking baby steps, and then really truly ultimately when it comes to money is to get support. I know it could be a tricky thing when it comes to a significant other and depends on the dynamic of your relationship, but it could be a money coach. It could be a best friend and say, you know what, I'm really struggling. It could be like the first usual symptom is that I don't know where my money goes every month. So that's usually to start. I'm like, well, let's start looking, having a monthly date with yourself and look at your bills. Like, what are you spending on? And I would say one step at a time, baby steps, and just it's awareness and first and foremost, and being able to get support from someone and being held accountable to things that you can actually take action on.
Since we have an audience of entrepreneurs, I want to talk about this a little bit from the perspective of the business owner and how important it is for them to clean up their money stuff, not just for themselves,
Mm,
but for their business, for their employees, for their family. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
yes, absolutely. and believe it or not, right? Like we think that business is kind of separate and it could be in a way, but it's really all interrelated, right? Like how we handle our money personally is how we handle our business, you know. And I would say start with yourself on how you're paying the bills right now. How are you in charge of paying the bills, or is it someone else's responsibility, and things like that? Because then when you can make those changes on a personal level, then that basically trickles into how you run your business, right? Yeah, I even have on my calendar on a monthly basis to do, reconciliation of like pulling all the bills from the credit cards over to a system. We use QuickBooks. So get a tool that is going to help you track all of your expenses, and all of your, income, cash flow, etc. So again, it could be getting support from a mentor. It could also getting support from having a tool that's going to help you start, managing your money more effectively.
So, for someone who is really committed to making some significant changes,
Mhm.
we reach that point where when we've been struggling with something for a while, we're like, okay, enough is enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. Something has to change. Uh, Take us through the journey of, for instance, your clients. What does it look like to embark on this money coaching journey?
Yeah. So we have the 6 steps core process that we take someone through. So literally the first exercise is we call it money history. And it's literally starting for as young as you can remember, 3, oftentimes 5, even for some of us later, like 7, all the way up to now. Like literally, it's a whole life inventory of how did you deal with money? Anything, any experience, anything that's related to money, we get to excavate that. So that's our first step. After that, then being able to teach them these are the different archetypes that we have. Like they are the 8 of them. And of course, all of them actually have to take a money quiz to really say which ones that they are more predominantly of. Usually we have two. There's always duality. We are more of this and then predominantly and then secondary most of the time. So we'll get through that, which is identifying your money personalities. And then after that, then we can look at this is very deep. We call it because oftentimes we think that someone is, for example, a personality of being a victim. They feel like they're hopeless. So there is another exercise that will excavate to see if they even believe that can they really earn money. Because that's the core component to all of it, to feeling worthy, even to get their finances organized, etc., is to go through that, is looking at your even your list as lame as like, do you know how to type? Yes. Do you think you can help somebody type a document and get paid for it? Like that's a very small example of, in addition to understanding that, they have certain personalities, they need to really understand that they can actually have the ability to earn money, which is the next step, which helps them really start seeing that what they didn't know about money or finances is not their fault, right? And then we can reteach them of, okay, now that you know what you know, these are your limiting beliefs, and this is how it's being expressed in your business or your life. These are the different things that you can start doing. For example, monthly money dates, and or for somebody who is really, really frugal and they don't know how to spend on themselves, they actually would need to spend up to, depends on their budget, have to spend up to $200, $500 on themselves every single month as a tactical strategy to get them to learn how to spend money, right? Like we need to learn how to earn, we need to learn how to spend, we need to learn how to save, and then we need to learn how to share, right? Like those are the 4 things. It's just basically those things were never taught, to most of us, the majority of the population. And so we get to do all of that. And then last but not least, on a consistent basis, get more support on, okay, I'm doing better with this. Now, how can I really learn how to invest it wisely, which is basically the last ultimate step. and really allowing to see money, having a healthy relationship with money is being able to see it as a tool that is going to support you to do what you need to do in your life and business versus just a think that is like, for example, for me, it's a like it works against me almost, rather than. So really truly develop a healthier relationship with money and being able to see it, as a tool, and be able to even manage ourselves emotionally when it comes to money in general.
This is the perfect time for me to ask for those listening who say, all right, I'm in. This is exactly what I need. How can our listeners connect with you?
Oh my goodness, definitely. I am just a message away. I am on Facebook mostly and definitely on Instagram, but we have our website as well. It's fit2profit.com, and you can just send me a message there. We also have a profit assessments that you can take, and that will lead you through booking a call with us, as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, DeDee, for sharing your wisdom, your guidance, dropping some really valuable nuggets. For anyone listening who has come all the way through this journey with us, I'm sure they're able to just start to look more honestly at some of their money stuff. So
Mhm.
this is one of those areas that affects all of us, and it's always an area that we have room for improvement. So
Yes.
thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having this platform and for having this conversation. Again, like you said, it's so taboo, right? Like, why does money touch everything, but then we don't talk enough about it? And especially know what matter where you are on the spectrum, when there's too much money when you were growing up or too little money, there's always shame around it, right? So, unless it becomes an awareness, we can't really fix it. So, thank you so much for allowing me to have this conversation. And hopefully, it sheds some light for some of us who is really taking it, wanting to take it to the next level and feeling like they're really stuck. Once upon a time, I was there, and I'm still a work in progress to this day. Is never too late. It's never too late.
So true. And of course, I've got to thank all of our listeners. You know we're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.